Hey y'all, Kentucky Renaissance Man here. Today we're going to spend just a few minutes learning how to sharpen our knife on the go, on the back of your truck, at the barn, in the middle of the farm, the homestead, on the construction site, wherever you need to. Cheap, easy, simple. Stay with me. Push the subscribe button right now and we'll get started. I'm out here on my tailgate. We've been cutting a lot of strings and stuff with the Christmas trees today, and so my pocket knife needs to be honed a little bit. And I don't have a whetstone with me, so I went over here to the Home Depot and I picked up some wet dry sandpaper. I also picked up a roll of this sand cloth, which is what we used to call emery cloth, but they sell it in the plumbing section. It's a waterproof, extremely tough, about 120 grit sandpaper. So if you have like a large nick or a ding in a chisel or a knife or a pair of scissors or even a pair of pliers, this stuff will cut metal pretty well. So it'll take out a really large nick. I'll show you how you can tape it onto a flat surface and work out a really big dent or cut in something. What I picked up was just for y'all to see is some 600, 800, 1000, and 2000 grit sandpaper. I'm using the 2000 today on my pocket knife because my pocket knife is pretty sharp. It just needs to be honed up. And 2000 grit sandpaper with some water on it will put a razor edge on there, which I'll show you here in a second. So I've got a piece taped up here. I'm gonna tip you down here so y'all can see this. What I have is a scrap piece of tile that I found over here in a dumpster. And of course I keep duct tape in my truck, so I just put a sheet of this 2000 grit sandpaper on the piece of tile. Gives you a really good hard flat surface. Now I'm using the duct tape to prop up my tile so that I can have a surface I can work a little bit. I keep an ice chest in my truck, so I've got a little bit of water with me. You don't need oil at all for this. And then if you just take your fingers, put them on your knife, and draw it towards you, and follow the existing bevel that's there. Just drawing out the metal just a little bit and pulling an edge to the top. Then if you work from this side, since my tile's too wide, I can draw it this direction. You can actually hear it cutting just a little bit. Hey, if stuff like this interests you and if you find it helpful, I would really appreciate it if you would push the like button, and if you could subscribe. It would really help our little channel we're trying to start out. I'm going to try and share with you tips on the go and things that we do every day when we're working. I have sharpened my knife 1,000 different ways when we're working. I've sharpened razor blades on these things. 2000 grit sandpaper will sharpen an old razor blade on a utility knife. If you're in a bind and you've gotten dull knife blades and you don't have any new ones on you, they're pretty cheap, but if you don't have one, an extra, you can sharpen one up this way. Sandpaper is pretty tough, this wet dry sandpaper. You can roll that up, stuff it down in the bottom of your toolbox, flatten it right back out on any old piece of board or a piece of sand or a piece of tile, a piece of steel or aluminum. Any good hard flat surface will work. I use this idea for chisels, especially just regular old construction chisels that you need a good sharp edge so that they'll work properly. But you don't necessarily need a leather honing wheel or something to do it. 2000 grit is so smooth you can't feel the grit on it. It feels like kind of a rubbery paper, but it's got enough grit and strength to put a absolutely awesome edge on a pocket knife. Now, the next thing I do is I take my own leather belt off, set my cases off, and I can lay my leather belt down here. It's got a hard surface on there. Hopefully you can see this. And I can strop that. There's enough oils in my belt that I don't need any kind of rouge. And you can actually see the silver coming off the knife from that paper, cleaning it off. And if you'll just strop that back forth slowly, there's a micro little hair of metal that's hanging on where the metal was drawn out from that sandpaper. And if you'll strop that back and forth, you'll pull that fiber back off there and reveal just an absolutely awesome razor edge. There's nothing more dangerous than forcing a dull tool to do a sharp tool's job. And so every time you get a chance to just touch up your sharps and make them work better, you'll be a lot better off. You'll be able to keep your fingers. I've got enough scars and cuts and lack of tenons from having dull tools through the year. Sharp tool will easily do the job without you being in a strain and in a bind, and so it'll keep you safer because it'll do what you expect it to do instead of what you're not expecting. So that right there, we'll peel this tape back up here. I'll show you just how well this will work. That's it, just as sharp as a razor. Anyway, guys, I sure hope this was helpful. Learning how to sharpen a pocket knife or scissors or a chisel on the tailgate or at the barn or wherever else you're at. Maybe you're on a limited budget and you don't have the money for some super awesome, expensive soapstone type stones or diamond stones or whatever, but you can get just a fantastic edge on anything really with just sandpaper. Get the right kind of sandpaper, pour the water to it. It's cheap, probably $6-7. You get a variety pack of sandpaper and keep and maintain an edge on anything. If this was helpful to you today, please hit the subscribe button and add yourself to our channel. We have all kinds of other tips and fun things and just whatever. We're trying to